Hi, BF. It's been a minute here. I sincerely want to apologize for my absence on this channel. I've had so much to do behind the scene, hence the reason why I've been absent. But I am back and I have a lot of tutorials. So this first piece I just displayed was what we recreated. And then what you're seeing right now is a style inspiration that has been trending for a very long time. For this gown, I used 2 yards of striped fabric, a leftover Ankara piece I had, and then crinoline net. I'm just going to set aside the rest of the material and start by drafting. The next thing you want to do is to place your fabric on a fold of 2 in 2 places, which is like 4 pieces. I went ahead to start taking my vertical measurements. The first point I marked was my shoulder to my bust point. Afterward, I divided my shoulder by 2, which was 7.5 inches. I marked that on the top of my fabric. I also marked my neck width. What I used here was 3.5 inches. From my shoulder point, that's the 7.5 inches, go ahead and mark how long you want the sleeve to be. The sleeve extension from my shoulder was 15 inches. That was what I later used, though initially I marked 12 inches, but I'll correct it in the course of the video. So I went down from that point by 1 inch and then connected it to the neck width extension. So the neck width was 3.5 inch, so I connected it to 3.5 inch width. Then from that point, that's the 1 inch I came down by, I marked my sleeve opening, and what I marked down was 12 inches. For the horizontal measurement, that's from one side to the other side, I initially wanted to take the hip measurement and then add my sewing allowance and all of that. I didn't want to waste the fabric, so what I did, I just marked 20 inches. So on fold, it's 20 inches. When you open, the front piece alone is 40 inches wide, and then the back piece is also 40 inches wide. Hence the reason why that dress was so big. But if you don't want it that big, please mark your hip measurement and then add your ease allowance. I also extended the same 20 inches width down to the hemline of the dress, and once I was done with that, I'm going to connect all the points I have marked back to the bust line of my dress. I went ahead to make a curve to form an armhole curve. You should do the same thing on your fabric. Earlier on, I mentioned that I extended my sleeve to 15 inches. This was where the correction was made, so I connected it back and went ahead to cut. If you watch carefully, you notice that when I was cutting, I left half an inch both on the shoulder and under the armhole down to the dress. For the back neckline, I went down by 1.5 inches and I curved it to the 3.5 inch width that I initially marked, which is what you see me do. Or you could just come down by 1 inch because you won't be able to add your sewing allowance. While for the V neckline, I came down by 7.5 inches. By the time I was done, it was 8 inches. I didn't want it straight, so I used a curve through to curve it back to the 3.5 inch neck width. Cut out the back neck depth before you separate the front piece, the one you want to use for the front, and then cut out the V neckline. At this point, I was just checking the total length of my dress. Now you're going to fold a piece of scrap fabric, whatever you have left, to make the back facing, because I use facing to turn both the back neckline and the front neckline. This way it gave my feet a better outlook. For the depth, like how deep I wanted the facing to be, I came down by 3 inches and repeat the exact same thing you did at the back for the front V neckline. All you have to do is fold a piece of fabric the same way the front piece is folded, and then cuff out the V neckline shape, and then come down by 3 inches to mark for the depth of the facing, and go ahead and cut out. I also went ahead to cut my pocket. Now there's no particular accepted measurement for this pocket. You could do yours 9 by 9, you could do it 7 by 9 or 8 by 9, or even 14. Depends on how deep you want the pocket shape to be. You can also leave it square the way this is, but mine, I made a little curve at one end and then I trimmed off all the part I didn't want, and that is all. The next part is just to take everything to your sewing machine and join. I was done doing that. So this is the facing that I've already turned. First, the front facing. The point where the V is, you have to notch it carefully. That way to allow the V neckline to relax very, very well. Now I'm going to be showing you how to turn this shoulder so that it's going to look very neat. It's very simple. It's either you use one of the facing to sandwich the rest of the shoulder facing and fabric into it, or you could just do facing to facing and fabric to fabric and have a middle point and but the method I'm using here is a sandwich method. That is, I aligned both both the front and the back outfit together, and then I used the facing of the back outfit to sandwich the front facing. So the next part, which is what you're looking at right now, is to cut the strap on the shoulder of this gown. I'm going to be putting it the same time I'll be joining the shoulder. So what I did was unfold. I marked out 2 inches width. I added my half-inch sewing allowance as 2.5 inch unfold. If you open this, it's going to be 5 inches, but 2 inches. Meanwhile, for the length, I made it 14 inches long. At this point, I've gone ahead to iron down my facing, and then I want to open a little space at the shoulder point because I forgot and sewed everything together. I came out from the neckline by about 1.5 inch. I used my seam ripper to open up a space wide enough for the Ankara piece to enter. Then I attached it the way you just saw me do. So what I'll do is to take it to the sewing machine and sew it from the inside so that it will look very neat. After stitching it to the shoulder of the dress, make sure to stitch it down to the fabric, or you use a hemming gum under it so it will stay one place. What I'm doing at this other point is marking where I'm going to be attaching my pocket. So what I usually do is from my shoulder down to my half length, I come down from the half length by 1 inch, because you know that pocket opening is going to be about 5 inches wide. So sometimes when you come down too much, it looks too wide. When you're trying to put your hands inside, it looks as if you're putting your hand too low. So sometimes I just place it directly under the half length, and by the time I open it by 5 inch to 6 inches wide, I notice that it's very, very comfortable, unless you have long hands though. That's an exception. You know how to attach this pocket? If you don't, I have several videos on my channel where I show how to attach this almost invisible pocket. This is like my favorite type of pocket to attach on dresses. I'm going to take this behind the scene and attach it. Now let's go ahead and continue with the other strap that will come down from this bow tie. All I did was I made this on both sides chisel-like shape, so by the time I fold it and sew one side of it, I'm going to have that shape, and this is going to be folded into 2. For the final part of this video, I'm going to be creating the bow that is attached to the dress. So for some reason I kept calling it bow tie. Anyways, the width of this piece of fabric here that will be used for the bow is 14.5 inch. That's plus sewing allowance, and it is placed on fold. So that means when I open, it's going to be about 28 or 29 inches, while the length is about 20 inches plus sewing allowance. Now, what gave this bow a structure the way you saw it, that's my own recreation, was this crinoline mesh that was imputed inside. And you are not going to cut the crinoline mesh the exact same size as the fabric that will be used to encase it. So what you do is you make it at least 1 or 1.5 inch shorter. And then another tip here is that make sure you burn the sharp edges of that crinoline mesh, because if you don't do so, by the time you put it inside the fabric that was created for it, it's going to poke through the fabric and it's going to be very uncomfortable when it touches your skin. So guys, I didn't record the final part of how to make a bow, but if you want a separate tutorial on that, please let me know. If not, please check the YouTube channel. You see a lot of tutorials on how to make a bow. So I just told you the basics, and thank you so much for watching to this part. If you got value from this tutorial, subscribe, share with your loved ones, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Until the next tutorial, I remain Botfash. Thank you so much. Bye bye.